What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Phillip H. Anselmo and The Illegals, entitled Choosing Mental Illness is a Virtue. This is released on Housecore Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very dark, frantic, groovy hybrid of both sludge metal and death metal. Yeah. This band is another project from probably one of the most polarizing, intriguing, and infamous figures representative of heavy metal and extreme music. Of course, that person being Phil Anselmo. Of course, you know him for some very, very memorable bands representative of the late 80s and mid 90s all the way up till now. Of course, you know him for his work in bands such as Pantera and Down, but also later projects like Superjoint. He did time with Necrophagia. He had a project called Christ Inversion, which I was really big into. Viking Crown. I think he worked with someone from Satyricon in that project. He's dabbled in many different musical styles, whether it be metal, black metal, death metal, any sort of style. He's always found a way to keep himself active and relevant, whether or not people love or hate his music. He's always kept himself in the public eye. And this project is another interesting example of what Phil Anselmo has been keeping up with in recent times. Of course, this project and another really unique project to come called Scour, which have put out two very awesome EPs in my humble opinion, and probably some of the best stuff I've heard Phil Anselmo do in a very long time. But we're talking about The Illegals here, and of course the first time we had heard something from The Illegals was back in 2013 with the debut album entitled Walk Through Exits Only. To me, this felt like more of a Phil Anselmo solo album with accompanying guests to help move along his methods to madness and just create a very wild and crazy story. And that's what we got with that debut full length. It was very solid for what it was. But ever since that album, there's been a little bit of a shakeup within the lineup. And what really caught my attention was the fact that this new lineup involved two people that I hold near and dear to my heart when it comes to Texas metal. Of course, the involvement of a new guitarist and a new bassist, that guitarist being Mike DeLeon, who you may know for his work in projects such as Disfigured and Flesh Hoarder, two of the best Texas death metal bands to have ever existed. And the bass work being, they brought in a guy by the name of Walter Howard, who has been the longtime bassist for probably one of the more intriguing death grind projects to come out of Texas with Vaginal Bear Trap, VBT. When I found out that they were being involved in this new Illegals lineup, I was extremely excited for them. Not only excited for them because they're my friends, but also for the fact that they've been given this huge opportunity to play on a Phillip Anselmo record. Phil Anselmo record or what have you, and I wanted to see what kind of translations would be brought to this new lineup and this new full length. And now here we are with the second album from Phillip H. Anselmo and The Illegals, entitled Choosing Mental Illness is a Virtue. It's 10 tracks, and it clocks in at around 46 minutes in length, and pretty much this is a day and night sort of switch around, because this new album feels a lot more angrier and a lot more aggressive than the first Illegals record. But this time around, things flow a lot smoother, and probably from a musical standpoint, this is leaps and bounds above Walk Through Exits Only, and you're gonna get some seriously solid music going on here. I mentioned earlier that I sense that I would consider this band to have some death metal influence, because the death metal influence on Choosing Mental Illness is a Virtue is very much prevalent here, and you hear it through the riffs, you hear it through the drums, you hear it through the progressions. It really does sound awesome. The sludgy parts, the groovy parts, the riffs. That's one thing that you take away from listening to this new record, is the riffs, and there are plenty and plenty of solid, just chunky, nasty sort of riffs going on here. You hear it on the opening track, Little Fucking Heroes, and then later on throughout the album with songs like The Ignorant Point, Photographic Taunts. Just the way these guitar riffs sound, it's just so memorable. I love the memorableness that you hear from these guitar riffs. I think it's really awesome to listen to, and it definitely guides this album along at a very smooth and solid pace. Bass-wise, definitely a lot of good aggression and distortion when it comes to the bass. You hear it very well. You hear it very nicely. It definitely accompanies the heavy riffs that are very much the main focal point of this entire Illegals record, and you do get some very good bass work going on here. Drum-wise, this drummer is a madman. He definitely was the heartbeat for the first Illegals record, but here on Choosing Mental Illness is a Virtue, the drum work on here is very awesome. I love the blasting. I love the pace. For some of these short tracks, he definitely maintains a very awesome and solid pace throughout. For some of the lengthier tracks, he keeps the momentum going. Even to the last track on here, Mixed Lunatic Results. Just a seriously awesome drum performance by this guy. Very much entertaining to listen to. And when it comes to the vocals, pretty much it's what you would normally expect out of a Phil Anselmo vocal performance. You're going to get a very wide array of emotions going on here, whether it be low, deep growls, spoken words, depraved sort of highs. He definitely feels like he's pissed at stuff, and he delivers that very, very eloquently here throughout this entire record, especially once again going to the opening track of Little Fucking Heroes, and then Individual, Invalid, Colorbrain Frauds. Seriously a solid vocal performance here. I really do love his work more with Scour when it comes to the more current day stuff of Phillip Anselmo, but here on this Illegals album, he really does display a lot of conviction and emotion here with his vocal performance, and I think it's for the most part solid, even though personally I think the music is what steals the show for me more than anything. So overall, like I said, this is a far, far better record than Walk Through Exits Only. This is the real, true variation of the Illegals lineup. I really do enjoy the way this album sounds and the way everything flows through. Lots of memorable riffs, lots of great playing off of each other, solid vocals, just an overall solid album to listen to. And if you're a fan of anything Phil Anselmo does, you're probably going to get some enjoyment out of this new record. But anyways, keep your eyes out for Scour too, because I think that's another awesome project in its own right. So if I could think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Little Fucking Heroes, Utopian, The Ignorant Point, Photographic Taunts, and yeah, some solid tracks on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Phillip H. Anselmo and the Illegals Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it, buy it digitally, and I will also link you to the Housecore Records web store where you can purchase CD and vinyl copies. I believe Season of Mist is handling this internationally. I believe on their YouTube channel you can stream the full length uninterrupted there if you want to. So yeah, again, the album is Phillip H. Anselmo and the Illegals. Choosing Mental Illness is a Virtue, released through Housecore Records. Go check this out if you want. And for a score, I'm going to give this a very strong 8 out of 10. Definitely a superior effort over the first Illegals record, and I'm very curious to see if this Death and Sludge combination will continue moving forward. So if you've happened to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and how you feel it compares to the previous release. Are any of you guys into Phillip H. Anselmo and the Illegals? Let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and until next time, Armio out.